Hello, everyone, and welcome to The Green Room, Pratidhwani series of conversations with our creative community. Today, we have two very special guests joining me in The Green Room. We have Kathryn Lau and Anya Shukla, the co-founders of the Colorization Creative. Sorry, what did I say? Colorization Collective, that's what I meant to say, who are joining me today, and we're going to have a conversation, get to know the two of you, Kathryn and Anya. Welcome. Thank you for being here. And let's just jump right into it, yeah? So let's start by getting to know you both a little bit. Who wants to start? Kathryn, why don't you start us off?
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Kathryn Lau, or Kat. I'm 17 years old. I'm a senior at Lakeside School in the state of Washington. My pronouns are she, her, hers. And I've been dabbling in the performing arts for quite a while, and that's led me to find Anya, and that's led us to create this.
Great. Anya?
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm Anya. Like Kat, I'm also 17, also go to Lakeside, and also use she, her pronouns. And something Kat might not have mentioned, but I think is also connected to like the two of us is along with art, we're also very passionate about STEM and science and technology. Those not really connected to the Colorization Collective, just a fun fact.
If
It's a great fun fact. Go ahead, sorry.
Subscribes to the astrology side of things, Anya's a Pisces, I'm a Leo, and we're both Leo moons, if that's ever relevant.
It might be relevant every moment of this conversation for all we know. Let's find out. No, the STEM plus arts thing is actually very interesting. I myself am an engineer by training and have been active with Pratidhwani since 2004. So 17 years of my involvement officially in the arts with this organization. And I saw a phrase somewhere, it's not STEM, it's STEAM, because you got to add the A for arts in there as well. So we are all a part of that community as well. So you're both seniors in high school. For those of us who oh my God, who have not been seniors in high school for a number of years, it's important to remind ourselves what that is. So tell me a little bit about what that's like for you right now in terms of college application process, and where are you with that, and what is coming up for you in the next year?
I will say the college application process is most of my applications are in, so right now it's kind of more of a like waiting, which I think is the most stressful part personally. But definitely next year, like obviously, hopefully the pandemic will have abated a little bit. I'm really looking forward to having a freshman year, hopefully in person, and being able to connect with a college community. Yeah.
In fall. Right, okay.
Yeah. Senior spring has hit hard. All of my applications are in, although I do have a little audition coming up soon, so that's exciting. Like Anya, I'm also kind of confused and navigating when to actually start college, if that's going to be a gap year, or like using freshman year to like explore and really hone in my majors and looking to transferring to more specialized school, or ending up happy where I'm at, which I'm sure I will be. So yes, very interesting. For those interested, like Anya mentioned, I'm looking into a double major or a dual degree, with one in like musical theater, acting, and the other in like cognitive science, behavioral science, neuroscience, brain stuff. So yeah, we'll see.
Either you feel comfortable sharing where you hope to go?
I would say a good school, and the school that's right for me. I don't want to jinx anything by naming names, but I definitely hope to. I think like the universe, hopefully everything will sort itself out in terms of where I end up.
Indeed, that's very smart of you. Kat, you care to add to that?
I don't think I could have said it any better than Anya.
Excellent. Well, good. So good to meet you both. Well, on this forum, and our paths crossed sort of accidentally, because Anya, you sent an email to Pratidhwani saying, the Colorization Collective is looking for teen artists of color to get involved with one of your programs. And of course, from there, you know, the conversation went internally within the Brothers Money community and mailing list as well. But I got very interested in wanting to learn more about the collective and the work that you two are doing. So let's talk about that a little bit. Tell us, so the two of you co-founded this organization together, yeah? Talk to me about what happened, what were the circumstances, what led to this seed for you to start this endeavor?
Sure. Anya and I completed an acting intensive together in the summer of 2018. It's called the Young Actors Institute, which was run through Seattle Children's Theater. And through that cohort experience, I guess, we had a lot of chances to talk about diversity and other issues in the professional arts world. So Anya and I, having both been ballet dancers first, and then she's gone more literary, I've gone more general performing arts. We're both still very involved with the arts community. We got together after that acting intensive to discuss the barriers that we had faced or seen and how we could combat those, both for ourselves and for generations after us. So on June 27th, if my memory serves me, of 2019, we formally became the Colorization Collective, and we've just gone from there. I'll let Anya speak a little bit more about the projects and campaigns we run.
Yeah, so our organization initially started with a main project of a web series where we feature teen artists of color. That's a little bit on hiatus right now because of quarantine and filming, but hopefully we'll be able to bring that back. And then from that web series, we've also spun into more general online content. So interviews with professional artists of color, with teen artists of color, social media content, blog content, as well as a mentorship program. And we just finished our first mentorship program in November. And that was a really exciting opportunity because we paired teen artists of color with professional artists of color over the course of 5 weeks. And then beyond that, we run a few miscellaneous collaborations. We're looking into expanding our chapter program as well, so promoting diversity in the arts at a grassroots local level.
So, you know, when I was your age, I was probably interested in the arts. I was in India. I wasn't here in the US, but and partly because of that, but partly just because of how oblivious I probably was at the time. I don't think I would have gone to an acting training intensive, looked around and said, how come I'm the only Indian person here? Or how come I'm only one of 2 or 4 people of color here? And oh, by the way, I think I need to do something to change that. So that's if you don't mind me saying, that's quite a leap to experience a situation, to analytically tear it apart and see what is it really that you're experiencing, and then to get to the point of saying this must be addressed and we must be the ones who do something about it. What was that conversation? How did you make that leap? Why did you make that leap?
Yeah, I think originally I'd come, and Kat, correct me if I'm misremembering things, but I think originally I'd come to Kat with the idea of producing some sort of performance that was all run by teen artists of color. So teens of color would be acting, teens of color would be designing, lights, sound, all of those different things. But we talked it over and we weren't sure just logistically how that would work, what that might look like. And so we decided instead we wanted to pivot to more of a web series and really dive deep into one specific artist, and then potentially have some sort of performance piece like come the year after. So some sort of greater event at a later date. And I think, Kat, does that sound accurate? Is that kind of what happened?
Yeah, it does. I think it started in YI when we had conversations. I'm going to name drop some people with some of our mentors. Sarah Porkalob, who told us to question everything. Pilar O'Connell, who told us about colorblind versus color conscious casting. And Meme Garcia, who is our Shakespeare teacher, who told us to ignore, like the stage directions of a probably bisexual, probably alcoholic white man from ages ago. And so from those people we got together, and it did kind of start more as a performance gallery type thing. But we talked about it, and I think our first intention was more on a product or a result. And what we're doing now is more process and connections and really the stuff that gets you to the final result. We do have a final showcase in the gallery, but we also do focus on the administrative side of things and, building an audience and featuring them wherever they are in their process and coming to them and seeing how we can serve them. And I think it's been a lot better for us and for the people that we're working with.
That's excellent. So, so let's talk about I'm just bubbling with thoughts here. I have questions about the administrative side of what you're doing. I have questions about the artistic side. Let's start with the artistic. So tell me more about who are the. Let's talk about the mentorship program, for example, right? So who are the mentors? Who are the mentees? How do you select the two groups? How do you connect the two groups? How does it work?
Kat, do you want to?
Yeah, I was down to name drop more mentors. We had three mentors this time around. So UJ Mangoon, who was our performing arts cohort mentor, and we had 2 visual arts cohorts led by Tatiana Garmendia and Perry Rodin, and then a total of 13 teen artists of color among those 3 cohorts, which we chose through an application process in which they told us a little bit about themselves, contact information, demographic stuff, and they were also asked to submit a sample of their work. So that's the application process for the mentees. For the mentors, we found them through various connections, and I think Anya has more to say on that. But from there, we scheduled a call just to chat about it and made it happen. We did receive a very generous grant from For Culture to help us produce this, I should say. And forgive me, I'm forgetting the latter part of your question, but I do think Anya can take it from here.
Yeah, I think just adding on to what Kat said, in terms of finding mentors, it was a lot of just online research. Seattle government has a great list of diverse artists, so we looked through that and just kind of went off some personal connections that we had, things like that. I do think potentially in the future, like it was really great to have this first mentorship, and especially to have it virtual, to kind of have teens from all over the country be able to participate. But I think also in the future, we're looking to potentially expand if possible, like have more mentors, have more mentees, be able to foster that connection between professional artists and teen artists of color, because I feel like we've seen that it's from this past mentorship and just from our personal lives, we've seen how important that interaction can be.
So obviously being a person of color is a criteria, I imagine, in the selection process. What else does a mentee need to have or not need to have? Like how do you, is it anyone who's interested is welcome, or is it capacity based, or is it something else? How do you pick who gets to be a part of this?
This year we because we only had three mentors who could only have like a maximum of 5 teens that they were supporting. There was a capacity constraint, so we did have to take into account like timing, if someone could make it, because we had specific mentors, or actually not because we had specific mentors, but just based on the composition of the applications in terms of who was interested in visual art, who was interested in literary arts, performance, that kind of thing. We had to make some adjustments there, to try and figure out who could we have a mentor for, and who would be best served by this program.
Excellent. And I have a feeling that other artists of color will see us talking, will hear this conversation, and will want to help. So what do you need from mentors? What do you need from professional artists of color? How can they be a part of this? How can they help? How do you grow the collective?
Well, for our first year for mentors, we looked for versatility. All of our various mentors have experience in a lot of different art styles, or foundations at least in a lot of different art styles, and who like more specialize in one form. So I think Tatiana was more realism, Perry was more abstract, and then UJ is musical theater, which, in my opinion, a superior art form, but I'm just a little bit biased. Triple threat, singing, dancing, acting. So we definitely look for versatility for our mentors. We are looking to kind of put together a workshop series type of thing, where we hold, a workshop, maybe 2 hours specifically devoted to this one aspect of art or some sort of technique. And if you're interested in that, feel free to contact us. Honestly, if you have any thoughts or want to get in touch with us, like, we'd love to talk with you no matter what it is about. So
go ahead and plug your website. How will someone get in touch with you?
I've been waiting for this. Anya, you go first. I'll do social media.
Sure. So you could very quickly, before we get into the website thing, I did want to say that we are looking to continue producing mentorship programs in the future. So definitely, if artists are interested in being mentors, if they're interested in being interviewed so that teen artists of color can learn from their experiences, we also host interviews on our blog. And our blog can be found at thecolorizationcollective.org.
Excellent.
There is
go ahead and cover
a
social media.
Contact form link in the website. There's also links to all of our various social media pages in the website. You can email us at colorizationcollective@gmail.com. Follow us on Instagram or Facebook, or find us on YouTube.
Look at you. You got your spiel done. This is great. So, but that's actually also a perfect segue into the blog and the interviews and the other program that has been active, right? So, like you mentioned, the web series unfortunately is dormant, but my God, your blog site is flowing. And I understand that there are just as many writers and literary artists in your circle as there might be performing artists. So Anya, talk to us more about that, because I think you are one of those people who's driving in that stream, or swimming in that stream, whatever the metaphor might be. How did that come about? What is the purpose of that? How are you helping? How are you? What is the vision for the blog and the literary side of things?
So Kat and I think most of our teen features were born out of a conversation that Kat and I had about how can we feature more teens in a way that's like beyond our web series, beyond mentorship. How can we feature teens more regularly? And so that kind of formed into, we post regular teen features on our blog, and we really try to do the kind of like an interview style feature style piece. So really talking to interviewing teen artists, learning about their work, learning about how racial equity has or hasn't impacted their artwork, and just writing up kind of like giving them professional exposure in a sense, which kind of just goes back to our mission of supporting teens of color, giving them these opportunities. And then beyond that, those kinds of interviews, we also post like reviews of different arts shows. I do some arts criticism on the side, so whenever I see a show, sometimes I cross-post reviews I've written or reviews some of our staff members have written. We have a series on K-pop right now, which is really, really interesting. And then we also post interviews with adult artists of color as well, as I mentioned, so that teens can learn from the experiences of someone who has had so much more time in the industry, and just be able to better understand what that is like. And then I think one thing, this might come as a shock to Kat because it's just been something I've been pondering in my mind, but potentially opening up the blog to like pitches from outside students, maybe featuring like nonfiction, fiction, some sort of like space for teens of color to just kind of share their work. That might be something we might move in that direction or add that component to our blog as well.
Let me ask you one more question about the adults that you do interview or feature on the blog. How do you go about finding, selecting, picking them? What is it just an outreach? Like, what is the outreach like?
Yeah, I think a lot of it is just like Kat and I find cool like adult artists of color, whether that be like I read a lot of the New York Times, so like whether that be through the New York Times art section or just in terms of arts organizations that we see around Seattle having cool artists of color that we want to talk to. And then from there, it's really just we cold email them and ask if they're interested. And usually they are, which is really great.
And one of the more recent artists that you featured was Anish Seth, who is a friend of ours here at Pratatoni as well, and was actually one of the guests on a previous Green Room session. So we have mutual friends. Kat, were you going to say something that I interrupted?
No, I think Anya pretty much hit everything. We do have a few connections too from YI, talking to teachers and stuff. I will say on the interviews, our goal is also, a catalyst to drive change, but also a platform for other people. So while I love everything I do, I think that interviews are my favorite part of the work. I love hearing stories, and I think Anya and I learned so much just from, sitting in there and conducting them. And so having the online content is a really great way for other people to experience what we did, even if it's not the same as, like, actually having a conversation. But I think words carry a lot of wisdom too.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I want to ask you, we touched on this a little bit in terms of the web series being dormant because of the pandemic, but what has the pandemic pivot looked like for you? Are you still able to, I mean, obviously you can't go see shows that you're reviewing, Anya, but what else had to change? How has it helped being virtual? Has it slowed things down? What's the pivot for you guys?
Kat, maybe do you want to talk about like social media? How that's changed?
I'm trying to consolidate everything. Silver lining, I consider myself an optimist. And I think the pandemic has made everyone so much more attached to their online devices and the connections that we have. It's been so much easier to be able to reach out. Like cold emailing works a lot more, I think, because that's kind of like a means of communication when you're in a pandemic. You can't really use word of mouth. On that train, I think it's easier to find time too, because commuting, traffic, weekend events aren't really a thing anymore in COVID times. So it's been a lot easier to schedule, the time to speak with people, and that does mean that there is kind of a backlog of publishing stuff. But it's all coming out in due time. So I think there have been some goods. I think it's been easier to expand our reach and communication means, but of course it's also been hard because the refocus was put on hold, and Anya and I, we do a lot of talking just when we're on campus, in passing between classes or frees and stuff. So transitioning everything. Also, the mentorship had to go completely virtual, which is a bit obvious. Can't have people acting and spitting at each other. So the flip to virtual for that was also a bit tough, but I like to think that there was still a decent amount of good things that came out of it.
And just kind of adding to that, I think this is what I was alluding to earlier, but I think our social media really ramped up during quarantine. Kat and I, before the pandemic hit, were not fluent. Surprising because we're teenagers, but we were not fluent in Instagram, Facebook, social media in general. But I think because as Kat mentioned, our online devices became so much more necessary during the pandemic. We really pivoted to more social media marketing and trying to build a base of teens from really all over the world through Instagram and Facebook.
It's fantastic. I want to pivot to the administrative side of things. So, am I right in remembering, Anya, that you were involved with Teen Tix as well? I bring that up only in speculation that maybe that helped, but maybe it didn't. So tell me more about how is the Colorization Collective organized? You are a registered nonprofit, fiscally sponsored by Teen Tix. Is that correct? So talk to me about the structure of the organization.
Yeah, we're not a nonprofit yet, but that is in the works. And we are fiscally sponsored by Teen Tix. And I think Teen Tix leadership has been very instrumental in helping us. They were partnering with us on this latest mentorship program, and just in terms of giving us advice, supporting us throughout this entire process. I think the organization has been really, really supportive, very, very much behind what we're doing, which is really exciting.
And on that fiscal sponsorship note, I want to ask, you mentioned a grant that helped pay for the mentorship program. Again, assuming that was possible because of the fiscal sponsorship from a registered nonprofit like Teen Tix. Are you doing other fundraising as well? Are you applying for other grants or direct just fundraising, crowdsourcing as well for money for the collective? How big is that effort? How's it going?
We Our kindness fellows here, I'll plug them really fast. Riley's Way, they were also kind enough to award us another grant. So I think our main source of funding is grant money. That being said, like social media is free. The mentorship was virtual, so we didn't need to pay for a venue or for transportation or anything like that. So thus far, just grant funding has been tiding us over, and we're working on our budget for this next upcoming year. If you'd like to donate to us, feel free. We haven't really set up an easy way to get funds from crowdsourcing or fundraising or anything like that, but something to think about for this next year then.
Yeah. I was going to say, do you have a link on your website that takes you there, or no? Not yet.
Not yet, but we will. For sure, that has been something some people have contacted us about donations, so that's definitely something we're thinking about. In truth, we haven't quite looked into the logistics of being fiscally sponsored. Can we accept donations from people who are not organizations? So we have to look into the legal side of that a little bit, but definitely we will be trying to have some sort of way to donate.
Yeah, the short answer is yes, you can, but I'll let you do the legal homework yourself. So why then step out of the fiscal sponsorship relationship with TeenTix and become your own nonprofit?
Yeah, I think part of that is just in terms of fundraising, in terms of just grants around Seattle. It's a lot easier. There are like a certain amount of grants that accept fiscal sponsorship, but there are so many more grants that you can apply for if you are a 501c3 that has 2 years of being in motion. And since we're coming up on that 2-year mark, I think it makes a good next step. And also because we are a 501c3, if we are, that allows us to provide teens with community service hours at certain schools because of just like policy. And a big part of our work is finding ways to compensate teens for their time, because sometimes it's hard to participate in an interview or travel to a mentorship program or whatever it may be. So if we can provide teens with community service hours, we'd really love to do that.
That's fantastic. So speaking of administrative type stuff and leadership, so the two of you started the organization, you formed a collective, and I am guessing you two are not the only leaders of the organization, or is that, are you two running it? What is the leadership structure?
So Anya and I are co-founders, and we do most of like the big picture stuff. So budgeting and, year plans, monthly goals, stuff like that. That's stuff that we discuss between the two of us. When we want to put on a more big thing like the mentorship program, that is a conversation we have with TeenTix. And we also do run ideas by the rest of our team. And, just so we can get second eyes on stuff. And then we do have a team of writers, but Anya and I are also the ones who tend to sit in on interviews, although I think that will be changing very soon, which is exciting. I think we're hitting a good enough amount of people where we can have someone sit in to kind of transcribe as we go, or to get that process started. So I like to say it's a collaborative effort, but Anya and I would kind of be leading the charge.
Yeah, we definitely at the at the very beginning of this process, we talked. I'm not sure if Kat was there for that conversation, but I think myself and our film editor was. We talked to someone about how to structure an organization in a way that is like most equitable, and so that people can have like reduced hierarchy as much as possible. And so we've tried to kind of maintain that. But I do think moving forward, since we are kind of growing and expanding, we've been kind of in conversation, Kat and I, about potentially adding new leadership positions, someone to manage chapters, someone to manage the blog, someone to manage fundraising, so that the two of us can focus a little bit more on big picture, what that might look like.
So we talked about fundraising, we've talked about the blog, we haven't talked much about the chapter program. So what does that mean? Chapters in different cities? What is the chapter program?
Okay, I can go. Yeah, so chapters, basically, at this point, yes, chapters in different cities. And we're kind of leaving it open to chapter leads as to what they might want to do. Of course, we'll be there to support them, but if they want to potentially host discussion groups if they want to lead their own event, if they want to. We can help them with potentially fundraising or grant writing for specific opportunities in their area. Potentially one idea we've been having is connecting with organizations or universities to have some sort of mentorship program between teens and undergraduates. So definitely we're looking to, as I mentioned, like build diversity in the arts at a local level and have some sort of, but leave it open, I think, to chapter leads as to what they might want to do.
And I think it was Kat, you had told me one time that this is an organization for teens, run by teens. So both of you still have 2, maybe 3 years, and then you will no longer be teenagers. So what happens then?
Right. So we're definitely looking for that line of succession. And I think one of the requirements for 501c3 is having an adult board. So once Anya and I age out, which is a scary, scary thought, we're going to join the board and
out.
kind of.
Okay.
I mean, okay, I'm turning 18, terrifying, and then the 20 after that, it's going to be. But anyways, off topic. Kind of once we hit that 20 mark, we'll be joining the board, so we still have kind of a hand on where it goes so it doesn't completely go off the rails. But because doing this, we're serving teen artists of color, it would make sense for us to keep it with us as much as we love it and care for it. The Colorization Collective has been with us for a while, but I think it's important for our mission that we're handing it down to teens as they come and go. And I was actually going to mention this about the chapter program. We created the Colorization Collective because we were looking for a space that had not been there for us. So creating chapters allows for local teens to do that in their own communities, and handing it down just allows that for teens to do that in general.
And how are you going about finding these chapter leads in different towns?
Yeah, I think a lot of it is connected to social media in terms of actually sometimes them reaching out to us. And part of it is, I think, more on the outreach side of us. We talked to, there's an organization in Denver that provides people of color with internships in the arts. So I saw some of their work, I reached out to them, and they kind of put us in touch with some teens in the area, some organizations in the area. So I think part of that is, it's a mix of kind of teens coming to us and also us doing outreach into communities that might not know about the work we're doing.
Yeah, I just sort of reminded myself that the collective has been around for a couple of years, 2 years now, right? You started in 2018 or 2019 is when you really officially started, and you are now 17. So you were 15, both of you, when you started this. Are you looking for other 15-year-olds? Are you looking for other 18-year-olds? Does it not matter? How do you do quality control on chapters?
Yeah, I think, oh, sorry, Kat, go ahead. You want to say something?
Oh, no. I feel free.
I think we haven't been doing too strict of a quality control as of yet, but we do meet with chapter leads to talk about what their vision for the chapter might look like. So there is a bit of a, I don't want to say screening process because we're not necessarily screening anyone out, but just a chance for the Kat and I to connect with potential chapter leads to learn more about what they might be interested in doing.
Yeah, for sure. I don't think age is going to be too big of a factor because just like the general young people, Generation Z, is that what we are? But like there's always this kind of view of younger people aren't experienced, that's something that we faced a bunch. So I don't think we're going to say you can't be a lead because you're 13. Everyone has their own valid lived experiences, but I do think that people who are on like the 16, 19 end of the spectrum might have more experience, and that's always helpful when you're facilitating discussions or choosing content to show. But Anya and I definitely, like the conversation that we have with our leads is the big indicator of whether or not they're doing this for like a resume or if they're doing it because they actually care.
And do you already have other chapters spun up besides Seattle, or how many do you have?
Yeah, we're in conversation with someone in Palo Alto, someone in New Jersey, I'm not sure of the exact city, and potentially someone in Denver. So we have a couple of like leads that we've been, now that college apps are over, we can like focus on building those chapters up.
Excellent. So we talked about the pandemic and the pivot and now the growth. Let's talk about the future. So obviously, you're looking at 501c3 status, building out an adult board that both of you might be on, or when the time is right, you will be on, adding chapters. What is the timeline? What are we talking? Where's the collective next year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years out, and what's the ultimate vision?
I would say in the next year. This may sound like a little bit crazy, but I think we can make it happen. I think having chapters in all 50 states would be something really exciting, and potentially I would love to do some collaborations with, like I mentioned, collaborations with universities or pre-existing programs, as well as potentially more opportunities for mentorship, specifically from like, I think it would be really, really cool. I'm not sure if this would happen, but if like Netflix stars or like Broadway celebrities were interested in doing some sort of mentorship with teens, I think that would be a really, really special opportunity to have the chance to work with someone who is so much professional experience at such a high level.
All right, so that's within the next year, 50 chapters. What happens after that?
International chapters, I think, is next. Whichever comes first, and hopefully they will both happen. And then, like Anya was saying, I think having a workshop series where it's like maybe brief mentorships from all sorts of people in all different arts forms. Oh, that's another thing we didn't really mention. The Colorization Collective features artists of any form, like from the more traditional painting, singing, dancers, to the pie designers and the makeup artists. We feature them all. There's a space for you here. Expanding the chapter program and our network in general, but also just finding more and more artists that we can feature and sharing as many stories as we possibly can. I think it'd be cool if we could sponsor some sort of commission, I guess, some sort of one-act festival, like a 1448, which is like should I explain it? A bunch of drama kids get together for 48 hours and write 14 shows, and it is chaotic and beautiful and sadly put on hold because of the pandemic, but commissioning a gallery or performance experience for teen artists of color that are not just the mentees. Go ahead. Sorry to
interrupt, but on that 1448, have you reached out to those folks? Because they do a 1448 high school, or used to before the pandemic. Are you plugged in with them? Because they're friends of ours, and I can arrange a quick introduction.
No, I think I have. I'm pretty sure it's a little fuzzy. I'm pretty sure I've acted in 1448 HS, but I do have friends who are on the board. Thank you, Kat, for reminding me. But yeah, we are, because of Teen Ticks, I think we've had the opportunity to kind of explore all these different arts organizations around Seattle.
Excellent. And then the other aspect of growth, which I think, Kat, you were sort of referring to, is beyond just adding chapters and growing geographically, what should folks in Seattle expect to see in the next 2 to 5 years as far as this chapter is concerned? There's a very strong literary branch, and yes, there are makeup artists and pie artists as well. But where do you see this chapter growing in the next couple of years, 5 years?
I think it kind of goes back to what Kat was saying. Finding ways for more teens to be involved, finding ways for more stories to be told. I think a lot of our programming is kind of just, and maybe this isn't the right way to go about it, but since we don't have much experience, this is how we've been going about it, just kind of born out of a crazy idea that one of us has. We think, oh, this might be cool, let's make it happen. So I think potentially finding ways to continue exploring the random ideas that come into our head. We have been in collaboration or conversation with like the city of Bellevue in terms of putting on an art event together. So connecting with governments, connecting with organizations in order to like better support teens, however that may be possible.
Excellent. We've had a lovely conversation. I want to learn so much more, but we should respect each other's time. I should respect your time. But I want to ask you: is there anything else we didn't talk about? Anything you want to plug? Anything you want to mention? I will mention that I love the branding. The CC is very cool on your website. But anything else you want to mention about the collective?
I think stay tuned. I will say, Kat and I are, once again, because of college apps, have been meaning to have a conversation about what we want this next year to look like. And I think after we do have that conversation soon, we will definitely have, we already have a vision, but a clearer vision of what we want to do in this next year and beyond, and how others can support us. But if you're interested in staying connected, be sure to, like, as Kat mentioned, follow us on social media or subscribe to our newsletter.
Yeah, I think
Kat, go ahead.
we have the goals. We just don't necessarily have the specific means. So I don't want to say watch out because that's kind of menacing, but keep us on your radar. And of course, please do follow, visit our website, show us some love. We'd love to speak with you. We'd love to hear from you.
Excellent. You two are an inspiration. You are unbelievable. You are talented human beings making the world a better place. I, for one, will stay tuned. I will keep you on my radar for sure. Thank you so much for spending the last half hour or so with us in the Green Room Pratidhwani series of conversations with our creative community. And today, boy, did we land on a couple of real creative people in the community. So thank you so much, and we will see you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.